Hey everybody, I'm Morgan.
And this is Ryan.
And we're talking Chitty.
What's up, everyone? This podcast is brought to you by thecrabshomestead.com,
where I blog about our life, homeschooling, homesteading, traveling, DIY tiny life hacks. You can check out our podcast on there. And you can also check out our shop.
Don't forget about our Poshmark closet. We are second chancers, that is to indie chancers. We have band tees, sports jerseys and apparel, single stitch vintage shirts, Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger polos, cool kicks, antiques, and collectibles. We just picked some 1940s Pennzoil motor oil cans that still have the original oil in it. The original grocer's 69-cent price tag is still proudly displayed on top. Stacked and displayed, they remind me of a Fallout 4 prop. They spruce up any man cave, she cave, or bar and bring you back to a simpler time. Or just appreciate the fact that these are no longer made.
But anyway. Okay, so we are here with Bruce Laird. And Bruce, if you want to tell us what you do, what company you're with, and what business you own.
Yeah, sure. I run Avra Valley Growers, and we are a farm consultant, farm management company. We also do our own farm operations as well. We help, local farmers establish farming operations and, help them in with tools that we have and just a variety of different things. We try to really build a network of people that we can work with in the farming area. I'm also in the process of starting another company called American Bast and Shiv. It's like really just in the very, very beginning stages. But as we progress in our hemp journey, we're going to transition a lot of stuff that we're doing with the hemp into American Bast and Shiv control. Right now, we're working with a couple companies and the University of Arizona and some different projects and grant opportunities that we're going to be applying for this year, and that's going to be under Avra Valley Growers.
Nice.
So, and that's already in the works, and we don't want to stop and change things because we started another company and we want it to be for that. So we're just going to roll with it for this next year with the hemp and Avra Valley Growers, and then probably transition into the Bast and Shiv. We'll still have the Avra Valley Growers, and that might just be our consulting side. I don't really know how we're going to structure it yet, but
that's something
those are the two companies that I have.
Well, nice.
So when did you start getting interested into hemp? What was your journey to, you just didn't wake up yesterday and said, hey, you know what? I'm going to grow hemp.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of people did. And that's been a lot of the failure in the industry.
That is true.
There's this new shiny toy over in the corner called hemp, and let's go play with it. And
right.
A lot of people have kind of found out in this first year here, I think, that this is not really what they thought it was,
Right.
For us, I've been interested in looking at it since 2013. After I left the government sector, I had some time on my hands and started really trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And we were looking at hemp at that same time I was getting introduced into medical cannabis, still the pills from the VA and all that stuff was kind of going on. So that really helped me transition out of that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Off to opiates or whatever.
That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely a good thing. 100% for sure.
And just because our audience doesn't know, Bruce, actually, you served in the Marines and you were deployed. And where were you gone and what years were you deployed?
Yeah, so I was in the Marines from 99 to 2007. I was an engineer equipment operator. So we ran like, bulldozers and stuff like that.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it was kind of cool. It was a cool job. Um, and then I deployed to Iraq in the invasion of Iraq in 2003.
Wow.
Um, and then I went back in 2005 and 2006. And then in 2005 and 2006, we were like detached as like a QRF team. Um, so we did like convoy security and
Wow. So
quick reaction
awesome.
type stuff to attacks on the base and all that GI Joe shit. Yeah, I mean, it was cool to us because it wasn't our like MOS, so it was something
Right.
completely new.
Right.
Um, we had a company gunny who was from the infantry side. He was a master sergeant, Master Sergeant Hunt. He actually, their vehicle hit an IED on our deployment in 2005, and he ended up dying from third
Mm.
degree burns
God dang.
over like 3/4 of his body.
Ugh.
But he was a badass dude, and he knew tactics and he knew what to do. So
Yeah.
he put together a team of basically like engineers. It was all of us were really engineers, and we would go out and do the convoy security and all that stuff. He would lead us. It was a good time. A lot of bad times, a lot of good times.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
But yeah, after getting out of that, in and out of the VA and with the meds and stuff, and the cannabis just kind of got me turned around. Things were going in a real bad direction with the
Mm.
meds and the alcohol, and everything like that. So once my mind kind of got cleared from that and I started able to think on what we wanted to do, we started looking at the hempcrete, hemp building applications, all the different things the hemp plant could do.
And this
Got
was
really
back in
excited.
2013?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I was just like in Arkansas, like living at my parents' house. It was
Figuring out
it
your
was
next
kind of a
step.
rough time for me. There was
Yeah.
some down moments because I just left my job. I was working for the government doing like wildland firefighting and making really good money, and I was just like, I don't enjoy this, and I left, and then I'm kind of like, what am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
Um,
And then
like
farming came into the picture.
yeah, yeah. So I grew up in Arkansas, like northeast Arkansas. My parents are still in the same place that I grew up in. Like,
Nice.
they we were always gardening. We always like grew our own everything that we could. Um, Anytime we would eat like canned green beans or anything, it was like literally canned, like my mom had put it away from the
Right.
garden in mason jars.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I just kind of grew up like that, and didn't really appreciate it that much when I was a kid, because I'd have to go out there and pull the weeds and do all that
Yeah.
shit.
All the work, man.
Yeah.
That's why you
So
have
like
kids.
it's just cool, like hindsight, being able to look back and say like, wow, like my
Mm.
parents kind of laid this foundation in me and I didn't even really know it at the
Wow.
time.
Nor appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or appreciate it. That's the sad part is appreciate it, which I'm lucky my parents are still alive, so I tell them all the time, like,
Nice.
thanks.
That's
But
awesome.
I probably could have got a lot more out of it if I would have been paying more attention.
I feel like that too sometimes. My parents gardened, and all I remember is my mom used to wear gloves because the habaneros burned her hands when she would pick them.
Well, we even still talk
Yeah,
about that with
yeah.
our kids.
Yeah.
Just they
Oh,
don't
that's true.
appreciate anything.
Oh. And we have a tiny ass house, and they're like, we need a big house. I'm like, if you don't appreciate the space we have right now, we don't need shit bigger than
Right.
this. Like, no, that's good. You learn the wrong lessons.
Yeah,
So,
I actually had a moment like last season. I was out planting some like basil plants, and you know, I'm like digging in the ground with my hand because I'm just putting them in holes, just a few plants, and like um, I don't know, something just hit me because it was like really jacking up my fingers, like digging in the dirt. And I was like, why don't I just get a spoon and do this with like a spoon from the kitchen? Because I didn't want to make a big hole with a shovel.
right.
So I get the spoon and I'm out there doing it. And like, I just literally had like this flashback moment of like when I was a kid in Arkansas. and my mom with a spoon out there planting plants with a spoon.
Oh,
And it
wow.
was this
Wow.
like I felt like this insane connection that I'd never felt before.
That's
Like
cool.
with my mom, it was just like this really neat. And she wasn't even here,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
she's still in Arkansas,
Wow.
and it was just I don't know, it was really cool to feel that. But
Absolutely.
You think she felt it at the same time?
That'd
maybe
be
so.
cool.
That would have been cool.
That'd be
Have you
cool.
talked to her about it?
I don't think I did. Yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
I did, honestly.
Yeah,
Maybe
that'd be
something I
cool.
should do. So like the farming stuff, like it's it's like a therapy for me, really.
Yeah.
Um, I found it to be that. I call it like farm therapy. And like when we were back in Arkansas that year, 2013 to 14, um, and I say we, I mean Nicole too. She was with me. We weren't
Yeah.
married at the time, but she came with me. Um, like we were, they still had their garden going, so we're out there doing garden stuff, and I started thinking like, hey, let's just grow some vegetables and try to sell them. That'd be
Yeah.
cool. And so we started like dabbling with that. We didn't really get into the sales side of it because I just had no clue what to do. I mean, I'd always had a job, right? So I'm
Yeah.
always just doing whatever the task is. So like when like you're your own boss and you got to create these tasks and try to figure out what needs to actually be done.
That's so
That's
I'm
true.
like
difficult.
in the very beginning stages of that back then. So we were just all over the place. But
I think, and this is something that I think we even talked about in the past with you, was whenever you do leave the military and it's like kind of the first time someone's not like telling you what you need to do.
What
It's
to wear, what to eat.
kind of, yeah. It's, I remember Ryan feeling kind of lost then, like just, I don't even know what to do, but
yeah,
yeah, making your
yeah,
to-do list as an
yeah. No, it's
entrepreneur.
really crazy, man. And like, I kind of feel bad for the guys that stay in and retire for like 20 and stuff like
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
because they're so ingrained and trained in that way. I don't know how many people I've talked to, even some of our higher leadership, um, there at the end when like I was getting out and they're like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I've been in the Marine Corps for 25
Mm.
years and
What am
like
I
they're
going to
about
be
to
when I grow
retire
up?
me. What the hell am I gonna do? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like a 23-year-old E5 sergeant. I'm like, I have no clue, what the fuck to tell you. I don't know. Um,
Sounds like you're fucked.
Yeah.
Brian had a
but
sergeant that was like,
it kind of led me to get out because
yeah.
a master sergeant told us that not the one that was killed, but a different master sergeant. We were sitting at our unit and we were just talking in his office and he's like, guys, I'm retiring in like 3 months and I have no fucking clue what I'm gonna do. He's like, I'm
Mm.
scared. And I just remember like he was sincere, right? And I was like, I don't want to be that guy.
You
Yeah.
fucking
I don't.
pussy. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was just like, it made me think like, oh man, like
This is
I don't want to
serious.
sit here for 20 years and then be like getting out like, oh, now what am I going to do that I'm,
Right.
40 and I've been in the military and told how to wipe my ass.
When to do it, how to do it. Damn,
So,
dude.
yeah, it just, it's just, it all led to this. And, um, yeah, like I said, I started finding like therapy with working with the plants and it was enjoyable.
Yeah.
Gave you
Um,
purpose.
Gave me purpose. That's a huge thing. The purpose thing. I mean, we're in the military. We're defenders of the world, right?
Sure.
And
Mhm.
Sure.
and you get out and you're just who the fuck cares,
You're
Joe
nobody.
Schmo, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, there are tons of benefits for veterans.
Absolutely.
There's tons of free stuff. There's all kinds of programs. You were talking about the thing with Doug Ducey and the free training for veterans and all that.
Yeah,
There's a
he's
lot,
working
a
on
lot
that
of
right now.
opportunities. But a lot of it's passed by because of, I think, just like what we were talking about. You get out, you kind of lose this sense of purpose. It gets really depressing then,
Mhm.
like, why the fuck am I even here? Like, this is
Right.
boring. Combat's exciting. And
Yeah.
I think a
And
lot
life
of
is
us
boring.
probably got like adrenal fatigue from that,
Yes.
even.
Yes.
Fuck
Because
yeah.
day-to-day life is boring. It's not as exciting as,
I
doing a
mean, when I
patrol.
first got I got out. I worked for a construction company for a while. It was cool because it was dangerous work and there was always something different happening. And I was
Mhm.
like the foreman of the crew. So that was good. And then when I went over to the government side, I started with fish and wildlife as a equipment operator. And I mean, it was gravy, right? I'm making like $25 an hour,
Mm.
full government bennies, and we weren't really doing hardly any work. Um,
I love
yeah,
standing
I
around.
mean, none, dude. It was insane
Typical.
how much money was wasted at that. But
Sure.
I was there for maybe a year, and I'm like, this is boring, and that's when like the fire guys that were working with us was like, hey, would you like to like try to join the fire crew? And I'm like, hell yeah, like I need some excitement, man. So then I'm out there fighting fires and burning my leg and doing all kinds of silly stuff, and it was just for that sense of enjoyment, that's all it really was, because after a while that even got old, and it's like, okay, what's
What's
next?
next? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and
And it's
then,
always been on this journey of what's next. Where's the next spot?
right.
We're here for too long. It's time to PCS up out of here,
Yeah, that's true.
There's another adventure around the corner. I
Dude.
just got to find it.
I have to like
Yeah,
rearrange my rooms and like paint rooms and stuff every 3 years because it feels weird.
Sometimes
Like
every year.
every year sometimes.
yeah,
Just because there was always something different, And
yeah.
even on my side, I know you guys had a way more exciting time, but like I don't know. It was always nice to be told like, oh, well, this is gonna happen, and you're like, well, I guess we're going here now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was fun, and yeah.
So then what happened after
Mm-mm.
you said you got off all the pills and you got introduced to cannabis?
Said him and Nicole started farming and started doing.
Okay, I'm
some
just trying to get us back on that.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to do. Where were we
Yeah.
at? Where we left
Yeah,
off?
we got a little off. Yeah.
We do that.
So yeah, we came back to Tucson after 2013, staying down in Arkansas for a year. I mean, this was a little town I grew up in. There's like 8,000 people there.
Nice.
I don't know. We felt like we wanted to leave,
Yeah,
Right.
it's time.
It's never the same when you go back, right?
Mm-mm.
It's just like,
It's not.
okay,
It's definitely
I
not.
saw all my old friends. They're still doing the same thing that they were doing when I joined the Marine Corps, like in '99.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Same cars.
come on, man,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I
And
get
we've
that.
been so used to like living in like, like Tucson and different cities and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I would just fucking lose my mind like driving into town, because like people like down there are just different. It's just slow.
Yep.
There's no hurry for anything, and I'm just like, like I'm still living in the city,
Go.
Yeah. And then Nicole was pregnant, so we decided like it would be better to have our baby in a large city with a large hospital and da 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 da.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that that's the case. I feel like after like she was pregnant when we were in Arkansas for a little bit, and I think like she got a lot better attention there. It was more
Yeah.
personal,
Yeah.
Right.
I get that.
But yeah, so we came back, and then like I didn't really do any farming stuff. I was still kind of going through a lot of struggles. I had like really stopped drinking by that point.
Mm.
And so like the more like sober I was getting from that, like the more harder life was getting for a little bit,
Okay. Right.
and I was just starting to deal with a lot of those things that had been put away,
Yeah.
for a long time behind the bottle. So I had a lot of those demons like to deal with, and it was like I didn't even go to work. Like at
Mm.
2014, Nicole was working, and I was just kind of like chilling,
Yeah. Figuring yourself out, man.
Yeah, just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And 2015, we had the baby, and then I started working in the cannabis industry. I went to like a cannabis conference in Phoenix, and it was like a job, like a job call or something like that,
Yeah, like a job fair.
Yeah, job fair.
Yeah.
So I went there and met a company, started working with them, and I did that for like a year.
What'd you
It was
do?
really fun. I grew cannabis. I was like,
Nice.
yeah, it was crazy because like there was like three people working in the grow when I started, and the guy that was like the lead grower literally quit the day I started.
Jesus.
And and it was crazy because I'm coming inside and I never even met this guy, and he's like, "Good luck with this place. It's a real shithole," as he walks out the door and quits. And I'm just like, okay, like what's going on? And like, but to me it was super cool. Like we'd been like, dabbling with the cannabis space, for a little bit at that time, and like to be in a facility and growing plants and playing with the plants and doing everything. It was really fun. It was really exciting.
Did you feel like an outlaw?
Yeah, man, just covered in resin every day. I come home just reeking, and
Golly.
I'm gonna get arrested.
Having a good time, but I mean, and then that wears off too, right? Then it becomes a job, and then you start looking at what you're getting paid, and you're like, why are you paying me minimum wage? Like I'm working, really hard here, and a lot of the companies, they know that people want to do that job. There's a lot of people that want to say that they're growing marijuana.
Yep.
So they don't pay well. They don't pay well at all. There's actually a movement. I think it's in Illinois. One of the states, they're actually going to unionize the cannabis workers.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because of those reasons, and
even trimmers, like they're kind of put in some really sketch situations and positions. I don't know how many trimmers I met on the West Coast, just, I came out with my boyfriend, and usually they all have dreads and they don't shave their armpits, but I mean, and that's cool. But what sucks is they're usually put in a situation, especially if it's a woman.
Feedback.
Yeah. Do you hear it? I don't hear that. Do you have it on speaker, Bruce? Might have to take it off speaker.
Oh, I did
Okay.
there for a second.
Yeah, no, you're good. But yeah, I mean, they're usually like, if it's a woman, usually they're around a bunch of dudes, and I've heard of some pretty crazy situations. So it's kind of good that they're finally, and that's something I've always said with cannabis, if they would just regulate it, I mean, it would just be, it's too easy, man.
Murder Mountain, I think it was what it was called.
Yeah.
On Netflix.
It's better if like the industry can kind of form its own regulations, right?
Yes.
Without like a lot of government input.
Yes, absolutely.
But something like they do need to change some things,
Right.
Some places are using, pretty harsh chemicals, and they're not really providing good protection for the people that's applying it. And,
absolutely.
And then they're not paying them because, like I said, everyone wants to say that they're doing that or whatever, so they know that they can just pay, whoever the lowest wage, because there'll be another person to replace them.
Right.
Dude, when I got my job bud tending up in Washington, I got it partly because I knew the owner via a friend, and it's a very coveted job, and it was very easy for another 20-year-old. I'm 30 something, fucking bud tending with a bunch of 20-year-olds.
You just walked in, got the job.
Yeah, it was fantastic and the best experience of my life. And I accepted minimum wage, and I was only there for like 2 months, but with the tips and the free weed, I mean, I don't know how many people I've met that, their life was totally changed by it. Or even the growers that would say, I have like a pound of weed on my boots, at the end of every day, because they're, just messing with it all day. And if they're drying it, it was just it was a crazy, I'm excited to say, I'm happy to say, that I was in the industry for a little while, but there's so much to be learned, And,
no, it's a whole science. It really is.
We had so much cash on hand too, because of the federal regulations.
Crazy.
Man, thousands of dollars.
Tens of
We had this huge ass safe built in concrete, and every night,
I know.
Man, they had to take that shit. I don't know where the money went. I don't know, but it couldn't go to the bank, so I don't know. It was just crazy, and it sucks because like taxpayers are missing out on all that. Roads could be fixed.
Billions of dollars.
There's so much money in that.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, I had saw a thing a while back that there was like literally warehouses in like Colorado that were just full of cash. Like people were renting warehouse space to store the cash.
They're all doing fucking Breaking Bad shit, like Heisenberg, pallets of money and shit.
I think and it kind of causes them to have to launder the money and do a lot of
Yes.
different things because
Mm-hmm.
the way it is. Fortunately for the hemp businesses, a lot of that's changed.
Yes.
Banks are online with working with them, and
Fantastic.
they just kind of removed the. Used to, you would have to fill out like a suspicious activities form,
Oh.
um, and that's what really red flagged the banks, and they didn't
Mm.
want to do it. But now, since the farm bill's passed and all these regulations are come in for hemp,
Yeah.
they've taken away that. So like now you don't have to fill the suspicious form out
That's good.
if you're doing a hemp business. So it really opened up the banking for the industry,
Hell
which
yeah.
is huge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. That is huge. And
Because that's kept a lot of people out of that cannabis space, the fact that they can't do anything with the money in terms of
right.
like banking.
Yeah, like you're gonna go buy a house cash, like you still got it. Like you said, you gotta launder it. And I think every person I know that owns a dispensary also owns like 2 or 3 other businesses on the side.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Yep.
you
Same
have
here. The
to.
same here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I mean, and it's cool because it's like, well, the laws are there for a reason, and there's loopholes everywhere. You just have to have the right
Yep.
lawyers. And I will say, if you've ever looked at any kind of cannabis stocks, that Industrial Innovations property, I don't know, it's IIPR, but dude, they are real estate. They basically find the property for
They
dispensaries
are
to
the
set up on.
McDonald's
Yeah,
of cannabis.
of cannabis. Yeah.
Okay.
They find spots that are, cleared, they
Properly
licensed,
zoned.
everything for somebody to set up a dispensary or a grow operation. Anyway, and they have literally, I've watched them over the last 2 years go from $40 to 80 something. They hit 120
Yeah.
last year, and now they're down
Oh
to
my
80.
goodness.
But I mean, it's steady. It's steady climbing. So that's definitely one. I think real estate and cannabis, like, oh my God.
That's a good mix.
That's a good mix. So any land I think that you have for hemp production and all that, I mean, kudos, because I think that's gonna be king.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we're looking at the fiber. We're
Mm,
interested in the fiber
yeah,
and the technologies and the innovation that can be created with that.
So tell us
Um,
some of these technologies that you can do. What first off, what is hemp?
yeah,
Someone who doesn't understand hemp, what is it?
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so hemp, it's the cannabis sativa plant. It's the same exact plant as marijuana. Um, Hemp and marijuana, they're the same species. It's all cannabis sativa. Um, the only difference is that federal designation has the federal government has basically stated that if a cannabis plant has less than 0.03% THC, then it's considered a hemp plant. If it has more than that THC level, then it's considered marijuana. And the
Mm,
THC being the psychoactive, compound in marijuana. So the ideal is, you can smoke the hemp, but you don't get that high feeling,
right.
Do you get
from
any
the
benefits from smoking hemp?
yeah, I mean, there's still tons of benefits.
Yeah,
You know, it's um it's high in all the other cannabinoids. So there's,
yeah,
usually CBD. CBD is the big one, right? But
yeah,
there's a lot of other ones than that. There's CBN and CBG and CBDA.
yeah.
Um,
Right.
there's
CBDV.
probably, I mean, there's obviously way more cannabinoids than we've even identified. They just found
Hundreds.
a new THC the
I
other day I
saw
saw.
that. And it's like
Yeah.
super high it's like high, you can get higher with this than you can
Mhm.
regular
Mhm.
THC.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
man, it's fucking crazy. They just found
Really?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely. So, they've spent a long time, and by they, I mean, governments, universities, things of that nature. They spent a lot of time looking at this plant.
Yeah.
There's a lot of research has been done on the government side of it, a lot of it on the bad aspects of the plant versus like
Yeah.
what it could do, unfortunately. And we're starting to see that now. So that's why we're learning more and more
Yeah.
every day because they're actually looking at it with a different lens.
Exactly.
Um,
Less bias. Little less
yeah,
reefer madnessy, you know?
Right.
yeah, but I mean, in general, it's the same plant.
Mm.
It's just that THC level is what designates it being a hemp or a cannabis.
And
You
that
know,
That's protected by the Farm Bill, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what
The
made
2018, yeah, the new
hemp
Farm Bill.
legal?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not in stone. So this is where like all the gray area still somewhat exists, um, and especially for CBD. And this is the other reason why we're really looking at the fiber. Like we think CBD is great. I
Right.
use
Right.
CBD. Um, all the medicinal stuff that it can do. All of that is wonderful stuff. Um, people can smoke it. A lot of people are being able to break addictions to cigarettes by smoking hemp
Mm-hmm.
flowers and things like that. So
Right.
all that's great. That should continue as long as it can. But there's still a lot of unknowns with the CBD. Like
Mm-hmm.
the USDA hasn't fully set their regulation. It's
Right.
open for public comment until next week. Um, and then they're going to have a time period to review all the comments, consider changes to the law, and make the final regulations. This isn't going to happen until probably 2021, 2022.
Mm.
Um,
So
and then
snake
also the
oil till then.
FDA. Sorry, there's like a donkey in the background going nuts.
You're good. I just text my daughters. I was like, "Hey, stop being loud." I thought that was them.
There's the FDA is kind of in the mix too. So like you know they're going to be coming out with regulation on the CBD side, especially on the food side of it. So there's still a lot of up in the airs. They're talking about changing the THC thing to like active THC, which a
Mm.
lot of people in the CBD space are saying like this is going to really damage the industry because basically every plant's going to have to be destroyed because it's going to be considered marijuana.
Oh my God. So they're talking about
Hmm.
lowering the THC percentage?
Well, not lowering it, but instead of saying so, it's stated as THC, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
also THCA,
Right.
um,
And that's
and then
inactive until you burn it.
inactive until it's heated. Yeah,
Yeah.
the heating
Heated.
process, either through smoking or low heat techniques,
Yeah.
will convert the cannabinoids in the cannabis and cause the THC to become active. So, like
Right.
if you're making an edible, you need to heat the cannabis, like a
Mm-hmm.
decarboxylation is what it's
Yep.
called,
Yeah.
and to make the butter, or like you won't really feel anything off of it because
Yeah.
it's not been activated.
Right.
So what they're trying to say is that it's the max active THC, um,
Mm.
which I
Is that considered active? THCA?
or I'm sorry, it's not active, but the uh, the max, but like basically the max potential of the plant.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it could test at less than the 0.03% and be considered hemp.
Dang. Okay.
However, if there is this potential with the THCA
Mm-hmm.
to be converted and then be higher, then it's considered illegal. They got some conversion factors and stuff they've put in there, and the people that are really into the CBD space are saying like, we need to change this because this ain't gonna work.
I will tell you, I honestly feel that anything that I've had with CBD and THC has worked better because I feel you do need some THC, even if it wasn't exactly a 1-to-1, if it was like a 10 milligram CBD and a 5 milligram THC, so you don't feel really high. I don't know, maybe 2 milligrams THC. I don't know, but I feel like that THC does do something. So it does.
So microdose THC and
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
macrodose
yeah.
It's
CBD.
CBD.
it's
Yeah.
called a entourage effect.
Mm.
Okay.
So when you have um, like multiple cannabinoids or terpenes working together,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm.
because they all provide different properties, right?
Sure.
And they
Right.
Yep.
all they all do different things. So, um, and like just isolating them is great for some instances, but like you're
Mm.
saying, like if you were doing it as like an actual regime,
Mm-hmm.
you would want that variety, that entourage type effect of different cannabinoids, different terpenes.
So that kind of
Right.
reminds me of like the debate with vitamins. People say don't take vitamins because, you're just getting a super dose of that one thing. They said you can
Mm.
get all your vitamins from, fruits, vegetables, things like that. So That's kind of what that reminds me of.
And the only thing though that has CBD or THC is marijuana, cannabis, sativa, whatever. As far as we
Right.
know, I mean, so like that is the only way, and we're actually deprived of that nutrient. A lot of people, which is why we suffer a lot of inflammation issues.
So what can hemp make? What can
Yeah.
it create?
Yeah, that you asked that a minute ago, and then we kind of.
No, you're good.
We always segue.
Yeah, so really anything made from plastic could be made from hemp.
Wow.
Bioplastics.
Jesus.
Wood, composite woods. So all types of applications with that.
Wow.
Pollution cleanup materials. They've powderized hemp and used it in the BP Horizon oil spill.
Really?
Yeah, they've grown it around Chernobyl. They've pulled radioactive material and heavy metals out of the ground with the plant.
It was successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And in more cases than just that. That's just kind of like when everybody knows
The
about
big
Chernobyl,
ones.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the BP oil spill. People
But yeah,
know that.
they've done it in multiple locations, and a lot of the research has shown, like, what's crazy is like they'll plant it where there's excess sulfur or copper or things like that, and it'll pull it out of the ground, but it won't be stored in the plant either. It's not like the heavy metals are locked up in the plant.
Really?
It's a process called phytoremediation. You could come in, and this is why I see the hemp crop being just kind of like the savior for the farm systems. It's not the savior, but it's definitely a big key component to
It's
it.
going to help.
With all the pesticide and herbicide and chemical applications that are being put on the soil to grow food and things,
Like
in
the
the
last
nation.
60 decades or 6
Yeah,
decades.
it's literally destroying the soil.
Right.
We're at a state where the soil is dead. There's really no more life in the soil, and that's not a good thing.
Not at all.
And it's also affecting the water retention of the soil. So crops are requiring more water, and those types of things, and all that's putting a big drawdown on the resources in the nation. These fields where they've been heavily polluted with these chemical fertilizers and things like that.
Yeah.
You could come in and plant hemp in those areas and pull that crap out of the ground, and remediate that soil, increase the water retention. The plant sequesters a lot of carbon at a very high rate. So it's actually pulling CO2 from the atmosphere and putting it in the soil. This whole situation that we're in, everyone's climate change and I don't really have a stand on that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we've been on this planet for so very little time. How do we know what this planet does?
Right.
I agree.
So, but there is a lot of pollution, and it definitely could be leading to the climate control, right?
Yeah, sure. No, we definitely are doing a lot of negative things to this world. So, regardless whether there's a climate crisis or not, we got to stop this pollution, the plastic pollution.
Shit, we're already polluting space too. I mean, it's
I
fucking.
know, it's so crazy.
Everywhere
so
we go.
Crazy.
It's Wall-E. Like you have kids, Bruce. Have you
It's
seen
literally
Wall-E?
I love Wall-E. Yeah.
Everybody does. Like we're all fucking fat, just in chairs, just riding around on this planet.
Stuff with wheels. Yeah.
It's silly. Like, it makes me sick. But you know what? You're right, and I think with the hemp and everything, it doesn't even take long to grow either, which is nice. So like,
it's super quick. It's like a 90 to 100-day crop.
Jesus, that's crazy.
And the Constitution was written on hemp paper, correct?
Yeah, Constitution. I want to say Betsy Ross made one of the first American flags was made from hemp.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah. And I've recently seen a company that did a thing. It was a veteran. They grew some hemp. His wife literally made a flag, like American flag, from it. And then they were able to go to Washington and actually fly the flag
at the White
one
House?
of the historic sites or something. It might have been the White House. I can't remember. Yeah.
That is cool.
But the guy actually got to raise the flag himself, so that was pretty
Wait, so
neat.
she makes it, and the guy got to raise it?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Fucking
yeah,
typical.
Fucking typical.
yeah,
I love that though. That's so cool.
Baby, make me a flag so I can fly it high on national
yeah.
television and get all the press. Reminds me of that Jeff Foxworthy joke where she's out like paving the driveway and, hey baby, don't worry about that ashtray. I already got that for you.
Yeah.
I love
But
Jeff
I
Foxworthy.
saw a company the other day called the Real Hemp Straw. So
Okay.
they're making straws from hemp,
Our kids would be very
Ooh.
thankful for that. They're always
completely
That's great.
biodegradable.
That's
You know,
great. They're
80
like, save the
days.
turtles. Save the turtles.
Yeah.
There's a beer
80
company that's making a
80
six-pack.
days. 80 days the straw biodegrades.
Oh shit.
And
Wow, that's fast.
I saw a story. It said that I think America alone like throws away like 50 million plastic straws every day or something like that.
Takes
You
like
know.
1,000 years to decompose plastic too.
Oh,
my
yeah, this
God.
stuff's gonna be here for an eternity.
Dude,
But
they need to just mulch it up and like use it in playgrounds. Like just
right?
mulch up all the
Yeah, like
plastic.
there's got to be some kind of way to do
something.
something with it.
Sweden
Yeah.
was doing something, weren't they? Weren't they burning it for burning their trash for energy? Yeah.
I think it was Sweden.
I don't remember. Some people are coming. This company's making furniture out of crushed up plastic, like, and it's different colors. Maybe they were on Shark Tank. I don't know. Anyway, it seemed pretty cool. It was like a cool way to recycle it.
Bruce, one
Yeah.
of the coolest things that you told me about hemp was, I think it was you. You told me about Henry Ford built the first bumper out of
Bumper.
hemp,
Yeah,
and he was
bumper.
smacking it with like a 5-pound mallet, and it wasn't breaking.
Yeah. He did that. Like that was, man, I want to say that was back in the 40s. You know,
Wow.
before all the hemp stuff really stopped.
Right.
It was right around the time when the synthetics, the plastics, the chemicals really started kicking off.
Which is when all the pesticides, herbicides, insecticides started
Yeah,
coming out and
yeah.
started destroying the soil, the topsoil, killing
Yep.
the microbes in the ground.
He actually had a vision of like growing cars, right? So you would grow them with the hemp, and we would grow the fuel for the cars,
Oh
because
my
that's another
God.
thing you can do is you can make biofuel from the hemp.
Oh shit! I
Um,
don't know if I knew that.
Yeah.
So cradle to grave, basically.
It really, you know, if used properly in an ag system, you could still do the other crops. You know, like
Yeah.
our message to farmers is to never just abandon everything and go all in on hemp,
Yeah.
but just
Rotate it.
use
man.
it in rotation
Yeah.
with what you're already doing, to help build the soil, the water retention. Lots of studies have shown that the following crops yield higher yields. Like
Hell yeah.
Whoa.
the yields are higher, and in some cases it's pretty significant. Like with alfalfa, studies have shown like alfalfa crops that follow hemp crops yield like 400% more alfalfa.
Fudge.
Are you serious?
I mean, yeah, and that's money for the farmer.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
With less
Absolutely.
work or the same amount of work he did last year, and you get more.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
sounds like a
and
good
you know,
deal.
if you could grow your own fuel, you know,
Right.
yeah, I mean that's a big input. When you look at the farmer's input, it's mostly fuel and fertilizer.
Oh
That's
my
where the
God,
cost
really.
goes.
Okay.
You know,
And the other cool thing is hemp doesn't need pesticides.
no,
So I mean, it's
Yeah.
like now we're
there's
not
actually
having-
there's none that's been actually approved to use on the crops yet.
nice.
They're striving to make that happen.
I'm
But,
sure they are. That's what I was about
they
to
are.
say. Isn't that
Yeah.
sad that we made so many wrong decisions as a nation at one time? Like, oh, we're going to get rid of hemp and we're going to go with plastics and herbicides and pesticides and all these things. Instant meals, all these things. Like everything that happened that went kind of down when our food quality went down and just everything.
Well, the soil's dead. You know, so
Yeah.
when there's no
Right.
nutrients in the soil, there's no nutrients in the
No.
food.
No,
No.
they're exactly right. Yep.
Grow your soil. And you mentioned that on the news on your little on your
Yeah.
on your
Yeah,
segment.
yeah, and what we were talking about there was more, you know, there are ways. I have formulas, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna kill it. But there are ways to manipulate the cannabinoid output of the plant by manipulating the nutrients available to the plant.
Wow. Okay, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
It makes total
So
sense.
if you put the macro or the micronutrients in certain ratios to in correlation with each other. I don't want to. I got to be careful how I say this because some of this stuff is kind of almost proprietary
I was
information
gonna
that
say, don't give it
we're working
away.
on some of
Yeah.
these projects this year.
Don't give it away.
We've already started sampling the soil because we planted a small crop last year.
Mm,
So we test the soil prior to planting. We see
nice.
what the carbon level is in the
Smart.
soil. We see what the water retention potential is of the soil, the moisture percent, and things like that.
Very
We
smart.
take a look at all the macro and micronutrients. And this is being done through IAS laboratories. They're like an extension of Arizona State University.
Okay.
So they do all the soil testing for us. And so we take a look at that soil test, and then we'll plant the hemp crop. And then after the hemp crop is harvested, we come back in and retest that soil to see how much carbon the hemp plants put back in the soil and how much it increased the moisture retention of the soil.
Wow.
That's kind of what we've got going so far. That's our research side of the hemp.
That's smart. When we lived in Granger, they called it the Blacklands in Granger, Texas. It was farmed, and we never tested the soil before we planted like 50 fruit trees and just spent a lot of money for things to just die. And
Yeah.
it was really sad. We finally sent the soil out to Texas A&M, and it came back with
No
nothing.
nitrogen, no
Nothing.
phosphorus, and
Yeah,
very
yeah.
little
Nothing.
potassium. So our macronutrients were just lacking automatically.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even imagine what my micronutrients were.
Yeah.
I mean, the ground, the land was dead, and had I remember I want to say they tested the, how do you say this, the microbiology of the soil, and it was just, there was really nothing there.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because if you don't have any microorganisms inside of your soil, it's not producing more soil, creating better
No,
topsoil.
it's not. Yeah, there's totally a symbiotic relationship between the microbes in the ground and the plants and things. And like the plants are feeding the microbes are feeding the plants.
Yeah.
The microbes are breaking down the soil, making the nutrients available to the plants.
Yep.
And things like that.
Making pathways for water to move around throughout the soil.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Earthworms
all
are
the
great.
chemicals, all the salt, and that's a lot of what it is the salt in the chemicals, because a lot of the fertilizers are derived from some form of salt.
Okay.
It kills the ground. It kills all the bacteria. It kills everything. So you have to keep applying the chemicals to keep the plants going. So they're basically like bottle fed, what I call like bottle fed babies.
They're on life support.
You just have to keep pumping this poison in to keep things going, because it's the only thing that's making the plant grow.
Wow.
That's
But
crazy, man.
we're
seems
focused
so
on
backwards.
building the soil, bringing the soil to life.
Nice.
And when you can do it, I mean, it's a longer process than just applying some chemical fertilizers.
Yeah,
it
sure.
doesn't happen overnight like it
No.
does with the chemical stuff. But when it does happen, and when you do get the soil right, everything that's grown in it is just better in every
Abundant.
way across the board. There's more nutrients for the human to consume. The plants are healthier. There's less disease. The growth is better. They've really been looking at this over the last couple of years, because people are realizing that it's becoming almost a crisis.
Yes.
I've seen
Yes,
and
it
heard
is.
things that there's like 30 to 50 harvests left,
Whoa.
and then our soil is in such a depleted
I
and
believe
ruined
it.
state.
Ugh.
And that's only like 30 or 50 years.
That's scary.
Did you read Joe Salatin's book, Folks, This Ain't Normal?
No.
Oh, my God. So you know who Joe Salatin is, right?
Yeah.
So that
Just
guy,
saw
I
that
read
one.
his book, and some friend of mine gave it to me, and he was like, man, I think you would like this. And just the stuff that he was talking in the book, writing about inside of the book. He's right. This isn't normal. I never knew that side, I guess, of farming. And just he talked about he was trying to take MSG out of his sausages, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And it took him 3 years to do that because he couldn't just say, okay, I'm going to add a little paprika, a little salt, a little pepper, whatever he put in there. Because now that introduces a security risk where someone can dump poison in. And so it had to come in pre-sealed bags, and everybody was making MSG, style spice bags. Yeah. So yeah, it took him 3 years to get MSG out of it because he wanted to go to something more natural.
Right.
3 years. That's not normal. It should be as easy as, you know what? I don't want to put these poisons inside of my food anymore.
Okay.
Let me go do this.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
Like Roundup. Like, we finally got on board with the World Health Organization, right? And they were like, Roundup's bad. And the United States is finally like, oh, yeah, it is. Actually, Monsanto's not that great. So, I don't know. It was scary. I hated, and that was part of us leaving Granger was because of all that crap. You'd see the fields with the Monsanto signs, and
Yeah.
I don't know. There's too much unknown. All I could think of was Aaron Brockovich or something. But yeah, so for you guys, you said you are interested in the fibers of hemp. What is it? Like, what are some of the things that you guys are thinking? Are y'all manufacturing? Like,
do you guys farm it? Do you process it? Like, what is it that you guys are? What is your process in the hemp manufacturing?
Or what's the goal?
Yeah. So the goal is to have a fiber processing facility set up.
Oh.
Think of it like a textile mill.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of processes that go into processing the fiber. This is one of the things that has got everybody focused on the CBD space. There's virtually no one to process the fiber in the U.S. There's a company in North Carolina that's doing it with the same machine that we're looking to purchase. So I've been talking a lot with them. And there's like maybe one other company that's doing it. Like they were kind of uncertain if the company was even still doing it. So there's this need for the processing of the fiber. Like I said, I think I was talking to Ryan probably before we came on this, but like China's been leading this hemp fiber industry for a long time.
They never had a prohibition?
It was never illegal there. So they've been growing it for like thousands of years, right?
They're just a little bit ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. They're a little bit ahead of us. And so like the tools are there, they can take it and they can process it into what is actually yarn, that could be spun into clothing and things like that. We don't have those capabilities in the U.S.
Right.
There's the company that we're looking at is like the only company that's even manufacturing the tools in the U.S. They just got online a couple years ago. So, I mean, it's the industry is so new, like the tooling has got to be developed. Like there's just so much that's got to happen. It's not going to happen overnight. But what we're going to do is get it's called decorticating machine. So it does like the first stage decortication. So the farmer will grow the crop. They will harvest the crop, and the hemp fiber has to go through a retting process where they will cut the fiber and it will lay in the field. And basically, through heat and moisture, microbial action will break apart the fibers to a point that they can be processed and separated. Because you have with the stalk, if you were looking at it like a cross section, you have like a hollow core, then there's like a woody center, and then there's like the fiber that wraps around the outside, like the green part of the plant that you see, and that's called bast fiber. And then the inside, that woody part, is called herds or shiv, and that's why we created American Bast and shiv.
Okay.
But yeah,
I was wondering how that name came about when we were talking about that.
Yeah. And yeah, so when you run it through this machine after it's been retted in the field, it breaks apart the fibers. So you'll have like herds coming out of one side of the machine, and then you'll have like that bast fiber coming out of the other side of the machine.
I
Um,
got you.
that bast fiber needs to be further processed. It needs to be put through like a cotton process. It needs to be degummed.
Oh.
It needs to be carded, and it needs to be combed.
Hmm.
Um, a lot of these tools exist for cotton and some other types of fibers, but it's really got to kind of get tooled up a little bit more for the hemp fiber because it's a little bit different fiber. It's a little bit stronger um, and requires a little bit more process. But the herds could be immediately used. They could be used for hempcrete applications.
Mm.
If you mix lime with water with the herds, you create like a concrete type mixture. That's what the blocks are being made from.
Yeah.
You can actually take forms and press the hempcrete in and create walls. Multiple
Wow.
houses now across the nation, all across Europe. Big thing in Europe. They're really starting to build a lot of houses out of hempcrete. It's
That's
completely
awesome.
fire resistant. I mean, you can,
Wow.
and I'll send you guys a video. I'm sure you've seen it, but
Yeah, I'd love
um,
to.
it's just this guy holding a piece of hempcrete with a torch, burning it, and he's holding it, and it's only like maybe an inch or so thick, and he's just standing there. It's glowing, but it doesn't burn,
Really?
and the backside's not even hot. It doesn't even transfer the heat.
That'd be
Um,
revolutionary
Wow.
for cities to use
oh
something
my
like
God,
that.
Oh
dude!
my God.
Yeah, and then it's also impervious to pest damage, so it's
Yeah.
termites, anything like that. Um, it won't mold. There's no
Ooh.
mold. There's no
Wow.
mildew. So my thought is in these areas like Louisiana,
Mississippi,
Yes.
Georgia.
where these
Arkansas.
hurricanes come in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's there is damage from the storm, but it's rarely storm damage that ruins everything.
Black
It's the
mold.
it's the mold. It's the damage after the water
Right.
leaves. Everything rots because it all got wet,
Because it's
Man,
already so humid there too.
dude, when I left, okay, I went in after Katrina hit in October, like the month after it hit, and dude, the smell of mold, and there were so many
Oh yeah.
houses just gutted, and you can just see these wall panels from the inside just black with mold, and the whole, I mean, it
Yep.
stunk. It was so bad. So you were
I know we
absolutely
went down
right.
there too, and like
Mm-hmm.
like just what you're saying, like in the buildings, like we were looking at like just different buildings downtown in like New
Mm-hmm.
Orleans and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And man, like soon as you walk in, it's just all you could smell was mold, and yeah, you
Yes.
could see the water where it was on the walls and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Yeah,
It was crazy, man. That was
yeah.
crazy.
So this could really address that issue.
Yeah.
I mean, people would still have to possibly evacuate the area
Of
and
course.
things like that. But when you come back home, your home is not ruined. You know.
Right, right. Or your house
Um,
doesn't burn down. Like it's
yeah,
fire retardant. That's fucking awesome. I would be
yeah,
the
I
first
know,
to sign
right?
up for that, dude.
And it will like
Prepper's
it
Haven.
will absorb humidity. Like if there's
Mm.
excess humidity, say inside, like in a shower room or something like
No
that,
way.
it will it will actually absorb the humidity into the walls, but then it will release the humidity um, once like the atmosphere kind of balances, right? So it'll like release that humidity back out. So it'll like pull the water in, but then release it as well.
That's crazy.
Wow.
They're making like phenomenal water filters out of it
Mm.
for water treatment plants
So you're going to end
because
up
of the
making hardy
absorb.
backboard or greenback board
Oh my gosh, for
for like in
showers.
shower rooms or kitchens,
Yes,
anywhere where
yes,
water, anything where things
absolutely.
could get wet.
Dude, if they don't
Yep.
just make the
Wow.
wall out of that, I
Yep.
mean, why not just make? I mean, I've seen those videos, like, of course, we're always looking for something weird to do, but that
Sure.
that hempcrete stuff was like really cool. It's
Yeah,
really fucking cool.
yeah. And
Mm.
it's like really, really friendly on the environment.
I didn't
For
realize it was
one,
that
you got
friendly.
the plant, itself, during its process and what all it's doing, for the soil, the climate, all of that's happening. Once the hempcrete is made, it still sequesters carbon. So, like I said earlier, the building is a carbon negative structure. It's phenomenal, you know. It's
Wow.
literally pulling CO2 out of the atmosphere long after the plant has been harvested, you know.
I wonder if it
Um,
does anything for CO2 levels inside of a house, like if you did have a hemp house.
Hmm.
You know,
If it
like I
pulls
wonder if that's
CO2.
yeah,
ever
no,
a
it's pulling it out. It's pulling it out.
Oh my
wow.
gosh.
How many people a year die from like,
Carbon
CO2
monoxide
poisoning?
poisoning.
Yeah. Mm.
Hmm.
Wow.
So what phase are you in your business right now? Are you looking for investors? Are you growing hemp? Where are you at?
Yeah, so yeah, we're growing hemp. I mean, right now we don't have any growing like right at this moment. Um, the plant is photosensitive, meaning that it responds to light or lack of light. So if the plant is growing where there's like less than 12 hours of light um, for a day, it will start its flowering process and try to go through its life stage because it's an annual plant. So it flowers and then that's the end of it, right?
Okay.
Um, so right now, and for our area, one, it's too cold. We're still getting frost. It is a frost sensitive plant. Um, it is a frost sensitive plant, so you got to be conscious of the weather.
Right.
And then if we planted anything right now, it would start automatically trying to go into flower, and the plant wouldn't really develop. You know,
Okay.
so we're not going to actually be able to plant anything in the ground until sometime in March. Um, and then we'll have some hemp growing for
Nice.
ourselves then. We're working with, like I said earlier, the U of A and USDA and a couple different companies on a grant that's going to give us some funding to expand the hemp processing side of what we're doing. Um, I am looking for investors, and we're still trying to figure out what route we're going to go with that.
Okay.
I'm going to talk to like the Farm Service agent and the USDA, and we're going to look at doing like a farm ownership loan.
Mm-hmm.
They offer some really great packages, like really super low interest rates, and I think we can borrow like up to 1.3 million
Oh,
at like
wow.
2%. Yeah,
Nice.
um, it's insane. So we're hoping to maybe go that route and kind of forego a lot of investment,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
Um,
Right.
but we're definitely going to have some capital. I mean, we need to get the machinery, we need to get some land, we need to get some things rolling with that. So, um,
Yeah, you have
I was,
space now that you're growing, but you had said that or had mentioned that y'all were looking for more land at
Like
some
3
point.
or 500 acres?
yeah, we're looking for something larger. If we could do like 300 acres of fiber, that would be huge. That would give us enough fiber um, to really make a market stand with that.
And what were you
So
telling me about the some veterans? There's an organization. They were going to be FDA approved, Arizona State approved, and it was for veterans, and it was going to be free training in the hemp industry. Did I catch that? Or
yeah,
okay,
yeah. So we're working on a grant funded project. Um, it's called Ag Vets, and it's a agricultural program for veterans. Um, we're in the planning phases right now. October, we're going to actually implement the plan and start bringing veterans through workshops, seminars, different hands-on trainings, um, and then there's going to be a bit of curriculum for them to go through. Um,
There's a lady that came to our Christmas tree lot. She like feeds, she like cooks for this thing. It's called the Warrior Healing Project. And it's like a local thing, but they were saying how it was there to help veterans, like with businesses and like give them space, like to work. I don't know. I don't really know. We need to go in there one day and just see what it's about, because she'd brought us food one day. Like, it was
Yeah,
awesome.
she was awesome.
So we definitely need to go. But I'd wondered if maybe, like, if you had anything, maybe I could like bring it by there, because I wonder if maybe they had some connections. I don't know. Maybe.
Or even just had the labor force.
Yeah, just the labor force. Who knows? Maybe
Yeah.
veterans looking for something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what we're trying to identify. So it's for this one. The Ag Vets is a national thing. So there's lots of different programs going on in different areas. We have a link to it, I think, on the Facebook thing, where you can go to the Facebook page for the Ag Vets, and it's got like all the information on there about the program and all that. But essentially, we're going to identify veterans that want to be involved in agriculture or green technologies like solar, wind, and those types of things. They are going to come through the workshops, go through the seminars. They're going to go through whatever training that we designate to be significant or, well enough to say, like, these people are competent in these areas. And then the goal is, like, by the end of the program, they're going to receive a certificate that says, like, they're competent in, X, Y, Z, whatever it may be. We haven't fully got the curriculum put together. The U of A is working on a lot of that side of it.
Nice.
And we're just kind of giving them the, don't do that.
Get them, Daddy.
Kind of giving them, yeah, they're eating hair gel or something. I don't know what.
Oh my God.
Sticking their tongue in the light
terrible,
socket.
guys.
Layla ate
Don't
those
eat it.
silica gel beads that go in purses and like random shit, and
Here, wipe your mouth.
it was awful.
Wipe your
The
mouth out.
moisture
The
packets.
moisture packets. And my friend was a nurse. She was there, and I was like, "Is she gonna die?" She's like, "I don't know."
Yeah, right.
She's good, but that's good though. Like, it's good y'all are doing like all this stuff to help veterans, and I'm glad that we finally got to have you on the podcast to like kind of share all this stuff, because you guys y'all have been giving us like friggin' fresh produce every time y'all see us, even over
I
in
know. I wish
Tucson.
we could see you guys
Since
more.
2017.
Yeah, I know, that's true. That was
Yeah.
cool. I know I hated that I didn't get to really see you when we were at the fireworks lot last summer when you came by.
Yeah.
It was slammed, man. It's way busy
Oh, yeah.
in Tucson.
Yeah.
It was way busy.
Yeah, no, like I said earlier, I found the therapy in the farming, and
Yeah.
we want to share that with other veterans. That was kind of a big part of what that whole Casa Grande thing was about. That's why I'm really happy
I
to
like that.
be like working with this team of people that we got now on this Ag Vets thing, because it's literally doing exactly what I had in mind to do over there at Casa Grande.
That's great.
Nice.
Over there I was approaching it wrong in the ways of, like, we were doing a lot of it ourselves.
Okay.
Here we have like a whole team, multiple companies, farms, the university, USDA. Everyone's working on this program because it's pretty involved,
Yeah.
Right. It's the future.
Yeah, and hopefully by the end of it, they'll get their certificate with some kind of backing from like the U of A and the USDA, saying they're competent in these areas. That will help them acquire, loans easier, or go into some type of employment in the ag field.
Yeah.
Not at the lowest of levels. Ideally, they would have some kind of training and be more valuable.
Nice. Well, hey, do you want to blast your social media sites?
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and wrap this up.
I'm going to
and-
do some links too. I'll have links to that Ag Vets.
But
as
if you want to
well.
share, if you have Facebook, Instagram,
Yeah,
website, whatever
websites,
you
whatever.
have, ways to contact you.
Yeah. We got Facebook, we got Instagram. Both of the usernames or whatever is Avra Valley Growers.
Okay.
And our website's fun. Something's going on with it. Our website just doesn't work anymore. And I'm like, what is this? And, like, you go to it, it's like web server error or something. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
Maybe
you
we
are
should have
now
paid.
the web technician.
Maybe
Yeah,
we have somebody listening right now that's going to be contacting
Wow.
you and saying, hey, you know what, Bruce? I got you. I'm going to get your website back online.
Maybe they
yeah.
have.
There's a lot of people out there, and they definitely are not cheap.
Yeah, no,
You
they're
know,
not. I looked
that's why
into
we
it.
set it up, and I'm like, maybe we should have paid for that.
That's an expense we
It
should
worked
have.
for like 2 years. I don't know why it just quit working. I'm like, what is going on with this thing?
Dang, man.
That's crazy.
But
and you do a good job of like posting videos of like and updates about the garden and stuff, and I always enjoy watching those. So if anybody
yeah,
does,
I try. I
those are good.
try.
I like it.
I try to keep it going. I feel like I don't know. I want to do better. Like I've really thought about doing some YouTube stuff
Yeah, you
and like getting
should.
some more video stuff going.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm telling you, video is king in marketing, and it's since 2016 it's been proven it sells products like crazy. So it's just knowing, yeah, just taking the time to do the video editing, it just takes forever. I
But yeah,
feel your pain.
we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram with
Good.
that Avra Valley Growers,
Okay.
and then don't burn your head. Um, It's like playing with the blow dryer.
That was so random.
That's
Don't
awesome.
burn your head.
That would go. That's
Oh,
gonna go in an
shoot, what's
intro
going
clip
on?
with some random
Yeah, I'm
voices.
kinda-
That's great.
Watching them here, trying to keep them from
You're good, man. You're good.
throwing a hair dryer into the sink full of water or whatever
Oh
they're
my
doing
God.
over here.
It's cool. Ryan drank toilet water once the kids were making him tea, in the little plastic Cinderella stuff
Yeah.
when they were babies. And he's like, where are they getting the water from? They can't reach the sink. And then he follows Ryan into the bathroom and she's dipping it in the toilet.
I'm a
I
good
do,
dad.
I do also have a Facebook and an Instagram for the American Bast and Shiv.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
And I do have a domain set up for that, but it's just like coming soon if you go to that website.
Well, send me those on
Um,
Instagram. And then just send me the handle just so I know how to spell it, and I'll make sure it's linked in the description on the podcast
Okay.
for
Yeah,
sure.
and we don't like I think I've only done like honestly like one post on that
Okay.
site because I'm trying like I do as good keeping up with the Avra Valley Growers
Dude,
stuff.
I know
and,
it's
like,
a lot.
and there are like 3 Facebook pages, like 2
Mm.
Instagrams, and all this stuff. I'm like, this is kind of crazy. But
It is crazy. It's the way.
as we start doing some more of the hemp stuff with the Bast and Shiv, then we're gonna get a lot of content on that.
Yeah.
Um,
Good.
but yeah, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, we'll definitely need to
I
have
think
you
this
on.
is gonna be our best year.
That's
So
great. Well, we're rooting for you, and honestly, like whenever your first crop goes through, I'd love to interview again just to kind of see how it went and what that all looked like. I think that'd be really cool.
yeah,
Maybe we would take the drone out there,
Ooh,
get some footage,
maybe we
and bring
could
the
do that.
cameras, and
Yeah, maybe
yeah,
do a
that'd
little
be
trip.
cool. That'd be cool.
Little trip.
We're gonna do some stuff that some approaches to it that nobody's really doing. And with the flower and the CBD too, like we're gonna grow a little bit of flower, we're gonna grow a little CBD,
Yeah.
and if we can't get positioned this year onto a larger piece of land, then we might just be stuck with that. We got to get some acreage to do the fiber.
Well, get with me when you're ready to sell some CBD because I've yet to pull the trigger on finding a company really that I feel like is worth it. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, all our stuff you can guarantee there'll be no chemicals, there'll be nothing sprayed on it.
Nice.
Everything's going to be tested, and it's all legal because
Yeah.
we're licensed. It's all going to be done correctly.
absolutely.
So we're hoping to really produce some phenomenal stuff. Not just CBD either, like CBN, CBG, some of this other stuff that people are really starting to get hot about.
Yeah.
I got some techniques and methods that we're going to apply. I think it's going to be a little game changing. I don't know. We'll see.
And CBD is like the next acai berry or whatever.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
and now everyone's like CBG and CBN,
Yeah. Yeah.
all these
CBD
other
is not good
things that,
enough.
yeah, like we've
never
talked
is.
about for a long time, and I guess this is more just us, but we talked about like creating what we call like a Pandora's box
Mm-hmm.
of all terpenes and all cannabinoids isolated in a
That'd be cool.
box. So you could take like a little bit of CBD and a little bit of CBN today, and maybe, some
Yeah.
limonene or whatever terpene, and just kind of make your own concoctions.
And I
As
think it is a personal experience regardless. Everybody has their own cocktail that works for them, and
everybody's body's different.
yes.
We all have an
Yep.
endocannabinoid system.
Yep.
We all process the cannabinoids differently.
Yep.
But without a doubt, the cannabinoids are already inside us.
Yes. Yep. And
Even THC.
Yep.
It's in
Right.
all of us.
It's so funny because people don't realize that, and I think the more that we learn, the more that comes out. It's
Well, they don't really teach it in the medical field.
not
you
at
know.
all. Not at all.
Yeah, it like all
Nope.
of this stuff's like our whole everything needs to get updated.
Yeah. Right.
The way that they're teaching, what they're teaching, and
Everything.
the institutions and the schools, and it's just outdated, man. It
Yeah.
doesn't apply.
No,
It doesn't apply anymore. Like we need to learn. Like kids should be learning how to file taxes and shit like
Yes.
that, manage money, and
Get rid
you
of
know.
Common Core and let's teach about the cannabinoid system.
Yeah,
Morgan will not
when's
be
the last
teaching
time-
that class.
Hip hip.
When's the last time you fucked with a rhombus square or anything?
I
You know what I mean?
know.
Like none of that stuff is
Or
like.
a protractor. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're in those actual fields using
Yes.
those kind of tools and those things, like
Right.
it's something like you don't even remember that stuff.
Majority
you
of
know?
people are not doing that.
Yeah, and then
Yep.
you just get out here like, how do I manage my money? How do I,
Right.
do this? People don't even know how to write checks anymore.
Oh my God! Or make change. It's
Yeah, I make
ridiculous.
change.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
If the little calculator didn't tell you, you'd just be standing there like an idiot trying to figure it out.
Dude, you know what? I always say, fuck all my math teachers that said I was not going to have a little tiny computer in my pocket when I was in
Right.
school. Because they'd be like, you have to do this. You need to check it because you're not going to have a little computer in your pocket to check your work. And it's like, bitch, this scientific
Psych.
calculator is like on my iPhone.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't have to have a TI-83 anymore.
Right, yeah. The monopoly with that. Yeah, you had to get that Texas Instrument.
Yeah, man.
Those things are awesome.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, yeah, we'll have to have you on, and we'll definitely have to stay in contact, too. I always like seeing y'all's updates. And tell Nicole we said hello
And thank you for coming on.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
through all this
Yeah,
craziness.
no, absolutely. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for
I
being
enjoy
patient.
talking with you guys, and I think the news is going to do some kind of follow up too.
Okay, good.
So later on in the year, they wanted to do actually a follow up on the hemp, but they also want to do a follow up on that veterans program thing.
Absolutely, yeah.
We're not like, we haven't gone like too fully public with it yet because we're
Yeah.
still trying to put it all together. We had
Sure.
Oh,
a local
shoot. So we're
lady
getting
that
an
wanted to
inside
do-
scoop.
yeah, inside scoop. I mean, you guys can totally put this up too. I mean, like
Perfect.
we're talking about
Yeah.
what we're doing, and it's totally funded. Like we're fully funded for the next 3 years
Nice.
Wow.
to do the project. So it's
It's
all
in the
happening
works.
for 100% sure. But like I said, we're still in the very beginning planning stages. We got a meeting next month, and then we'll probably
Nice.
meet 2 more times, and then we'll actually implement the program in October of this year.
That's great.
So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, we'll spread the
So,
word.
any veterans out there,
Yes.
that want to get into any form of ag, and that's a big reason why we're also doing the hemp flowers and the stuff that we're doing on a smaller scale on the farms that we're already working with,
Mhm.
because we want to be able to show that to the veterans in the program
Absolutely.
as an option as well. So
That's great.
Smart.
That's smart.
yeah,
That is smart.
Well,
Thank you so much, Bruce. We appreciate it.
We don't want to take you from your family anymore, and thank you so much, man, for coming on.
yeah, they're in there screaming for me.
Dad, attention.
yeah.
We'll
Who
have
knows what they're doing.
fun. Hopefully the hair dryer's safely unemployed.
Yeah, Nicole's in there with them.
You're good. All right. Well, have a good night, Bruce. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, have a good night, guys.
You too. Bye. You can find our shenanigans online at thecrabshomestead.com and Talkin' Chitty on Facebook and Instagram. You can also follow our Schoolie Life on Facebook at Chitty Bang Schoolie and Instagram at The Crabs Homestead.
Don't forget about our Poshmark closet. We are second chancers, that is to ND Chancers. We have band tees, sports jerseys and apparel, single stitch vintage shirts, Ralph Lauren and Tommy Hilfiger polos, cool kicks, antiques, and collectibles.